Farming Sunday is brought to you in association with Farmers Weekly, working for your farming future. Coming up on Farming Sunday.
I've always used Professor Diana Bowles' beautiful summary of the challenge facing agriculture. You know, we've built our economies on ancient sunlight, which is gas and oil and coal. And the challenge is to build our economies on today's sunlight.
When I was a small child, really, that's all I was interested in, was farming and the countryside. And it was really Dad who gave me advice. He said, you need to go away and do something else, and he said, it's easy to go away, do something else, and there's always the option of coming back. And that was really a good sound advice.
We carry out a lot of vegetation work, everything from the clearance of scrubland, trees up to a foot diameter, right through to hedge cutting, verge mowing, and mowing of playing fields and large open areas. We also carry out muck spreading on a wide variety of materials, everything from poultry manure through to farmyard muck.
At this point in time, global agriculture is really on a roll. We've seen some significant changes in the business that give, I think, a lot of hope to farmers in the future. Certainly, we have the population growth that is going to continue on a global basis and probably put pressure on the demand for food. Second, on top of that, we have an opportunity to get farmers involved in bioenergy and production of energy type products, which give us a new responsibility to be able to grow to take care of the world's energy needs. At the same time that we've seen this great growth in the opportunities for the commodity prices, we've also seen the pressure on farmers because of some of the other commodities that they use for their inputs into growing the grains and energy products. We see those inputs also raising tremendously in price.
Looking at the current global and UK cereal markets, what's driving those at the moment?
It's very short supply. World to run its stocks down over a number of years to extremely low, some would say dangerous levels, and demand is increasing, has been for a long time with population growth, changes in consumption patterns, more production through livestock, which is less efficient in terms of using cereals. And of course biofuels is the other one, which is quite a small part but a growing part of this whole demand supply equation in the world. And currently, because of the higher prices, farmers right around the world are planting more crops, and that's why we've got the dip in prices at the moment. But generally speaking, we're going to build stocks of wheat in the world this year, but other cereals are going to still be quite tight. So over all grains, we're still in the world in a very tight situation. So we wouldn't expect prices to sort of collapse back to the sort of below £100 a tonne where they've been in the past.
We function in a global marketplace. It's inescapable. And it's been interesting to sort of see our relationship with the shippers and global trade in balancing European stocks. And that's what either puts the tension into the marketplace or doesn't put the tension there. Last year, we could see quite early in the proceedings that we were going to have a shortfall globally in production, and that was going to tighten all European markets. Somewhat of concern from April onwards, we've been tracking the fact that farming has reacted to the prices across the world, and there was the potential from April onwards to produce more, and we're now seeing that realised as the harvests are gathered in across Europe and parts of America as well.
And what do you think are the major things that are driving these fluctuations?
The big drivers are obviously the fact that when you get increased prices, farmers can see a bit of optimism towards production. They will increase their area, they will change their rotation, and they will look after their crops better. And there has been a huge amount of land globally that has been unproductive. And within Europe, we've seen, especially in the new member states, an opportunity sensibly to bring this land back into production.
And in terms of the cost of production, I mean, how have you seen that change and affect things over the last few months?
That's been absolutely dramatic. I mean, even since the cereals event, where we had the cost of wheat for next year at about £115 a tonne, I've revised the figures recently for the ongoing increases in fertiliser. And I think we're probably realistically talking for many farmers of about £125 a tonne. It obviously depends how you cost in the farmer's labour. We have costed in farmer's labour in our figure of 125, and what rent and finance you have, because that varies enormously between farms. But with a sort of average figure, you know, £125 a tonne is a cost of producing wheat for 2009, and that's gone up £10 a tonne since June, if you like, mostly on the back of fertiliser prices. But if the oil stays down, that should have a knock-on effect onto nitrogen. Although the big increases have been in phosphate and potash, well over 200% increases in the cost of phosphate and potash, whereas nitrogen sort of year on year is sort of 140%. So the cost increases have been tremendous, but they may stabilise, they may actually fall back now, which would be good news with the way the cereal markets are moving, because that cost of producing wheat of £125 a tonne is against a harvest price of 110, which doesn't look too good. But that's this year, of course. And if we concentrate on next year's crop, the 2009 crop, it's looking around about 125, 130. So costs are just about covered. It's about break even for producing cereals. Now, if you put that over a whole rotation with oilseed, perhaps some beans in there, the business we projected at cereals for Loam Farm was just above break even before support, before the single payment. And I think I would stand by that still today. We thought we were being a bit pessimistic then, but the way things have moved, costs have gone up and prices have come down, that's still very much the situation.
As a manufacturer, AGCO, what sort of technologies and what sort of things can you do to help farmers become more profitable?
The best thing that a farmer can do to become more profitable amidst these challenges that he has is to invest in some of the technology that the industry is able to provide. First thing, and probably one of the most basic things to a farmer, because it's one of his highest operating costs, is going to be fuel consumption. The engines that are being used in tractors today and the ones that we're using in the AGCO product line are some of the most fuel efficient solutions that we've ever been able to put into the marketplace. We believe that farmers will see a big and quantifiable benefit from the engines that are being used today as opposed to what they may be running on their farm. And so what we're looking for is to find those solutions from a efficiency perspective that allow the farmer to profit despite the fact that fuel prices are rising. On top of that, there are other technologies that we're employing. We look at precision farming techniques. Farming techniques that will make sure that you're not wasting anything as you plow the ground. Automated steering systems that use GPS signals in order to make sure that you're only going in a straight line and minimizing any overlap you have in plowing and using your tractor are going to be a big advantage. The same thing applies to the chemical industry and spraying. Precision sprayers that meter the amount of fertilizer that gets sprayed on to what the farmer needs for a particular part of his field. Again, minimizing overlap and making sure that no extra chemical gets onto the ground is both good for the environment and it's good for the profitability of a farmer. We believe that by employing the latest methods in technology, engines and the precision guidance technology that's available now, that a farmer can save up to 20% in the fuel costs that he's running.
Looking forward a few years, I know it's very difficult, but when you balance against cost of production against what's forecasted to people to actually get for their produce, how do you see things going?
I am overwhelmingly optimistic in the long-term future for several reasons. Because we're seeing this growing population, because there are growing non-food uses. And I think it comes also down to the fact that a lot of the raw materials that we use, especially the oils everybody uses in everyday life are becoming more limited in availability. Now, I've always used Professor Diana Bowles' beautiful summary of the challenge facing agriculture. You know, we've built our economies on ancient sunlight, which is gas and oil and coal. And the challenge is to build our economies on today's sunlight. Now, in a summer like this, it's a bit of a challenge, but I think that's a great opportunity in terms of what farmers can do, because we are harnessing sunlight with a huge range of plants. And increasingly, those raw material requirements are going to be driven by a greater requirement globally.
This is home, really, where I was brought up as a young child and spent all of my early life, really. The farm is about 120 acres. We've got about 80 cattle, which we breed, which are from calves up until fat, and we've got about 130 breeding ewes. Then we grow some vegetables and potatoes directly aimed at the farm shop. And then we grow maize and fodder beet, which are just aimed for the stock, really, taking the stock through to finished.
And did you always intend to become a farmer?
That's when I was a small child, really. That's all I was interested in, was farming and the countryside. And it was really Dad, really, who gave me advice. He said, you need to go away and do something else. And he said, it's easy to go away, do something else, and there's always the option of coming back. And that was really the good sound advice.
And what did you do?
What did I do? I worked for BT in satellite communications, and first of all did maintenance operations of satellite facilities, and then I was a project engineering manager building satellite earth stations and putting remote control and monitoring onto them. So complete change, completely different, really.
And then you came back to farming. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think when you're brought up as a small child, it just does something to your brain that you need to come back, and that was always in the back of my head, really. That was where my real love was, and looked at different opportunities to make the farm more viable. And so we developed the farm, diversified, and then escaped the life of satellite communications and came home.
And how do you sell all the produce? Is it all going through the shop?
The produce, it all goes through the shop, and also the lamb and the beef is aimed at the shop. So really 90–95% of the beef goes all through the shop, and then we sell it retail over a retail counter.
How are you looking to finish the beef? What sort of qualities are you looking for from the beef you're selling?
What we'd look for really is the beef that goes through the shop is either Hereford cross beef or Aberdeen Angus cross beef, and we've chosen those really for two key reasons. One is, well, the actual animal, the beast, is easy to finish, so we're finishing cattle on mainly grass and maize silage, and for the first time this year we've put in fodder beet, so the aim there is to finish them really on the three. And the other key reason is just you get more cover on the meat, and you get actual marbling in the meat itself. The other key thing is to hang that beef, and when it's hung for the correct length of time, we hang it for 3 weeks, is you get the sort of natural tenderisation and good steak on the plate, really.
You developed the touring park here. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
When we're looking at what we could do with the farm, small farm, to make it more viable, we looked at all different options of diversification, and really the caravan park, the touring park, kept coming top of the pile, really. We had a natural area to do it in, and it was and still is really a growing market, and so it looked the most favourable option to do, and it made the best fit for the business, really.
And what sort of difficulties were there in getting that off the ground?
We're investigating it, the sort of feasibility, around mid-90s, and we looked at different other parks, what everybody was doing, talked to the planners about what areas and what issues we'd have to address. We worked with Martin Wilkinson from ADAS and looked at the sort of viability of the farm, that kind of market, and put in the planning application, and we were very fortunate, really. I think we addressed all the sort of issues, really, in the application of how we'd do it, the landscaping, how it would fit, traffic movements and everything. We put the planning application in 99 and we're fortunate got planning passed in late 99.
And how's it going?
It's going well. It took 2 years to build. The actual construction work, putting in roads, sewerage, wastewater connections, water, TV, building the toilet and facility block, took 2 years to develop. We planted the landscaping, shrubs, trees in the early days, and it took 2 years to get it ready really to open the gates. Early days, occupancy was low really. It's getting the marketing right of where to advertise, get people to turn up. So that's just gradually built up really. We open 1st of March and we go through to the middle of January, so we just close for 6 weeks. And our occupancy, we're not near the coast, so our peak occupancy is weekends. So the biggest trend is people arriving Friday, staying Friday, Saturday night, and then home back to work on the Monday. And then obviously in holiday periods, we get longer week stays.
Why was the decision made to open a farm shop?
The biggest, I guess, reason was we're committed to being here to check people in, as opposed to just doing one job, so waiting for people to arrive. I guess not a very big step to then be selling things and marketing things. So we were here really, and we had the produce to sell, the beef and lamb we had available, so it made sense to add value to that really. And the other thing it does is it now gives our customers, and the feedback we're getting, it's quite a unique experience. They come away, bring their barbecues, so when they're here, they're both in Herefordshire, brilliant spot to be. They can travel out from here, see lots of different things through some, children's play areas, just enjoying the area, or National Trust places. And they can also enjoy sort of real food, really. So they're all frying their bacon and grilling the bacon and eggs for breakfast, and then barbecuing in the evening, both steaks, burgers and everything. So it puts together a kind of unique package, really, that people can escape and do something different, really.
And how would you see Townsend Farm and Touring Park developing over the next, say, 5 years?
What we're looking at doing is keep the touring park going. We've got a small lake up there, stock that with fish, because there's a big demand there, really, and people are asking about fishing. And the other thing we want to do with our meat sales is we're just finishing off, really, the development of our own e-shop, really, just to be able to dispatch the chilled meat overnight to a national market, really. And that's been driven largely by caravanners who have been, customers who have been, that have tasted the meat and then gone home and asked us to supply them back at home.
We carry out a lot of vegetation work, everything from the clearance of scrubland, trees up to a foot diameter, right through to hedge cutting, verge mowing, and mowing of playing fields and large open areas. We also carry out muck spreading on a wide variety of materials, everything from poultry manure through to farmyard muck.
And what sort of machinery do you tend to have to use in your work?
We tend to specialise on heavy equipment, which is a little bit specialist, just to stay one step ahead of the game, really. Our hedge cutters are reverse drive mounted, which give us better vision, higher output and forward speed. Our forestry mulchers, again, for scrub clearance work, clear areas very quickly, which give us the edge on the competition.
And what would you say farmer clients are looking for from their contractors these days?
A fast, efficient and reliable service.
And what's crucial to you day to day?
Day to day, lack of breakdowns. It's got to be, and fuel consumption. We need the reliability, and we need something that runs cheaply.
Who would you say most suits the N111?
The tractor is widely accepted in most agricultural applications. It's nice and compact, 4-cylinder, it's powerful, the whole range goes up to 150 horsepower. It's very manoeuvrable, compact, so when you've got tight spaces, farmyards, quite often used in livestock applications when they've got to get in and out of buildings, and right up to larger arable work.
How did you get into the Valtra brand?
About 4 years ago, father had a problem with a cartilage in his knee. He spent 3 months off work, couldn't drive the tractors we were running. Clutch was too heavy. with the amount of clutch work on hedge cutting, it just meant that it was unable to work. So we changed then and looked at the Valtra, which at that time we wouldn't have given a second look at. We wouldn't have thought about it. And it pushed us down that road. And as far as we're concerned, it was the right way to go.
And how have you got on with the Valtras?
Well, the first tractor, 6550 in 5,500 hours. There was one call out to the main dealer. I mean, our main dealer was over 60 miles away. Some of our customers say to us, you know, how can you deal with a tractor with a dealer so far away? And, you know, there's one simple answer. When you haven't got problems with a tractor, you don't need a dealer on your doorstep.
And how did you then move into the N111s?
When our second tractor of another make came due for change, the logical choice with the savings we were making and the ease of work that we were getting with the Valtra headed us down that road. There wasn't much else to consider really from our point of view. It gave us brilliant reliability and a tractor that did everything we wanted.
Run us through the tractor. Tell us a little bit about the things you like about it.
The tractor being a four-cylinder is compact. A lot of the work we do involves us getting out of very tight spaces, and to find a tractor we wanted higher horsepower, but we didn't want the size, we didn't need the physical build. The Valtra comes lighter, more compact, but we've had it ballasted to give us the weight, to give us the traction that we want for some of the hilly work we undertake. The twin track, again, now all of our forestry mulching, scrub clearance and pasture topping work is done in reverse drive mode, which means that the operator sits there looking clearly at everything that's going into the mouth of the machine. No more craning the neck, no more neck trouble, just a lot easier way to work.
Twin track function is the option to be able to rotate the tractor seat around and operate the tractor through a full set of pedals, steering wheel, and all your controls are available to operate in the rear operation mode. This gives a greater flexibility of use and operation, vision onto the machines that you're working on, also carrying the implement that you're using on the load-bearing axle of the tractor, as opposed to putting it on a front linkage.
From our point of view, we looked at front linkage options, and when you price them up, currently they're more expensive than the twin track option, and the weight is in the wrong place on the tractor. Everything now is where it should be, back on those hydraulics. You can't say any other. Once you're in there and once you've got used to it, it is the best way to do the job.
You mentioned fuel consumption as being important to you. How does the N111 compare?
Our 6550, being a four-cylinder, didn't quite have the torque to run some of our equipment in the higher PTO speeds at low revs, which we've always aimed to do to try and cut fuel. When the new N111E came out, we looked at the torque figures. We had one down on demo, and it would do exactly what it said on the can. We could run machines at very low revs, we cut fuel consumption, so that's where we went. We plomped for that. At the moment on verge mowing, we are saving from 10 litres an hour with either a 6 or a 4-cylinder tractor. We're down to 5.5 litres an hour from 10, and that's in heavy grass, cutting in wet conditions over the last 3 months. You know, we've proved it day in, day out. He's down to 5.5 litres an hour.
So can you tell me about eco-power and what that actually means?
Eco-power is the ability to operate the tractor in two different modes without compromising output but increasing performance and torque. The tractor itself has the ability to be run at normal power mode with the rated speed at 2,200 RPM, and it's producing 122 horsepower, and that's developing 500 newton meters of torque. We reduced the revs by 400 RPM in eco mode down to 1800, and then this increases the power slightly to 124 horsepower, but the torque is significantly increased up to 570 newton meters. This is also to reduce engine RPM at 1100 RPM, which gives the ability for people to make more economical operation.
Both the tractors, since they've been delivered, because of this, we are basically saving 30% per month on average with both tractors on all operations. This means we're on nearly a buy one get one free scenario. It's saving us over £500 per month on fuel alone.
And would you see yourselves buying Valtras or using Valtras into the future?
If these two prove long term to be as reliable, which at the moment I can't see any other, as the first one, we will not be going from the brand.
Thank you for watching this week's show. Be sure to tune in at the same time next week. Please contact us with any comments or thoughts on information at farmingsunday.co.uk.